Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Well, hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders, the Authority Positioning Coach. Today we have with us Rick Denley, who is the founder of Peak Performance Leadership. Rick, welcome to the program.
Mike, thanks for having me on today.
Hey, you're welcome. I'm looking forward to learning about what you do and what your firm does to work with your clients. But first, give us a little bit of background on yourself and then what led you to form your consulting firm, Peak Performance Leadership.
Well, thank you. No, I appreciate that. I spent 3 decades in the corporate world leading multinational organizations, both in the sales and marketing areas, and always loved to be frontline selling and leading and coaching other people. Then there came a time where I decided that I could influence and help small to medium-sized organizations and many more individuals if I went out on my own. And that's what I did a few years ago to form Peak Performance Leadership, and now really enjoy working with different entrepreneurs and people that are looking to punch through their growth ceilings.
Yeah, I love your what I call an expert title, Transformational Growth Expert. So that's not only focused on leadership, that is growth. And not just growth, incremental, it's transformational. So talk a little bit about how you approach growth and from a transformational aspect.
Right, thank you. Well, you know what? There's no good in going small, as far as I'm concerned, Mike. If we're going to change something, let's change it big and go big. And that's what we like to do. And that's why it's transformational. It's not incremental type of growth that we're looking for here. And as you mentioned, it's also from an individual aspect and an organizational aspect. Some people might know me from my speaking engagements and being on stage representing Reinvent Yourself, a book that I published a little while ago that went bestseller. And a lot of people enjoy that program because it teaches them the skill set, knowledge, and tools to really reinvent themselves into something else. Now, organizations can do the same. And especially now, given our challenging situations, that's what I'm helping individuals and organizations do, which is transformational growth in a large way.
I'm pleased that you use the word challenging situation, because no matter what time that we're in, currently we're in COVID challenging times, but this is nothing unique.
Right.
And I'm confident that you would agree with this. Back in the day, there were all kinds of other challenging situations. There was the economic crisis of 2007. There was 9/11 that had impact on personal, professional, financial, emotional. It has all of these things. And then when we quote unquote get through this challenging situation, there's going to be another one. There's going to be a period of time where we're thinking, hey, everything's great, but something will come up. So talk a little bit about how you advise your clients to deal with and work through these challenging times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great point. Thank you. And you're right. It's ongoing. Even if we think that, it's never been this way before, but it has. And when I take the stage and I get the opportunity to be in front of a large group of people, I ask them to give some thought to which of these they're in right now. And inevitably, everybody is in one of these 3 things. They're either cleaning up a mess, on some sort of movement, or creating a mission. And through all that, we need to change. And this is the interesting part about it, Mike, is that change is always there. Change is the one thing, as we know, that's always in front of us and going to happen throughout our lives. It's not as if we say, that's it now, nothing else will change. Well, sure it will. It'll change in our personal lives, our careers, our businesses, everywhere. And as I've taught my sons, I've got 2 boys that are in their 20s now, and I love to share with them, as I call them, dadisms, and you get the roll of the eyes, and here comes another dadism. But I teach with them, and one of the things that they remember. You're right. And you start to hear it back. And I taught them one thing. I said, change is always coming. Now, there's 2 types of change, isn't there? There's the type of change that we create, that we decide I'm going in a different direction. I'm going to change where I'm at now. And we do that. And we have some sort of self-accountability because we decided to make that change. Then there's a change that comes our way that we didn't ask for. That's always the tougher one for people. And I didn't ask for this change. Woe is me. I didn't ask for a health issue or the economy to change or for me to lose my job or technology to put me out of work and so on. But in either of these cases, I coach people and train them on the fact that you need to get out in front of that change. It doesn't matter how it came to you, whether you initiated it or it came your way. You still need to lead that change. You've got to get to the front of the bus and drive it in the direction that you want it to go. And that's a big learning for a lot of people. And once they get over that first hurdle.
Types of changes, I would say that there's two ways you respond to changes. You could either react to it or do it the right way, which is respond to it, which is that proactive, this is in front of me, what should I do? Let's respond, not react.
Right. That's wonderful. And you're right. You're absolutely right. In the book, we talk about that as well, because that's an emotional intelligence growth.
Yeah.
And we can grow our emotional intelligence in learning not to react, but to respond. And how do we respond? Well, there's several things that we do. First off, identify what it is. What is the change coming our way? And what do we want it to be like at the end? And then how do we harness that energy in change? Because there is energy in change. We want it to be positive energy in our direction. Then we dig down deep and we figure out, well, what's the reason for the change? And then how are we going to communicate that to others? Whether it be in an organization, as we are today, where you have to get everybody on board to understand we're changing how we do things, especially the area that I specialize in, which is selling. The way that people sell now and address buyers has changed tremendously. And we need to be very savvy at virtual tools, skills, and knowledge. So that's the business side of it as well. But it's very interesting like how much they morph together. Whether it's a personal change, a business change, the process to getting to where you want to be is the same. And I say process, and it's funny because not a lot of people know, but I'm actually a recovering engineer. So I started my career as an engineer for years on end. So I've got that process mindset behind me as well, which is why I like to help organizations and people too, because there is a winning, repeatable process to change and reinvention. Just like there should be in organizations a repeatable winning process for selling. And a lot of times it's the entrepreneur that has it in their head that they need to get it out to others and share. That's why they were successful in the start. And that's what we help companies do.
You mentioned in that last piece so many nuggets, and I want to tie it into what I researched, your recent blog post. Change how you get there, not your destination. So change is inevitable,
right,
and we need to respond, not react to it. But that destination, that goal, that begin with the end in mind concept, the destination, that is your true north. Keep that there, but we might need to pivot. We might need to change, adjust, adapt, whatever you want to think of it as. But it's just who you become in that journey, but it might change a path here, path there, but you need to have that true north set. So speak a little bit about that as we wrap up too.
Yeah, that's wonderful. What a great point, Mike. You've got an end game in mind. You've got a goal in mind. You want to keep that goal, as you mentioned. You don't want to change that. But how you get there is going to be different than you anticipate. We always anticipate a fairly smooth road to getting to where we want to be, and we know that's rarely the case. So our ability to accept the change and adapt to it and embrace it and lead it and find alternative routes to getting to our end goal says a lot about the people that we are, and that's in building a lot of the characteristics that we need going forward. It's part of that emotional intelligence that we can work on and become more patient, become more focused, become more driven. These are all things that we talk about improving on so that we can get to the end goal, whatever that might be. And the journey, in fact, I don't like to call it a journey too often. I like to call it a voyage. A journey to me almost sounds like, God, I'm going to put a backpack on and go through the desert and the heat and things like that. And it's way too much work. Let's call it a voyage. A voyage to me is a trip. I'm getting on a boat and I'm going to some great destinations and things like that. Okay, realize that to do that, there might be some challenges in that, right? If we're on a voyage, hey, one night the seas might not be too friendly and we might get seasick for a period of time, but that's all part of the voyage. And we know that we will still get to our destination if we stay focused.
I love that. Just shift. journey and voyage, because you're right. The voyage makes it sound like, I set out on this voyage and I planned it out and here's the trip. But this journey does feel like, I'm hiking, I'm sweating, I'm laboring. So isn't it interesting how just a small shift in words or the way we think about something really does change how we approach that? So I think that's a really neat way to phrase that.
Good, thank you. It does. Listen, there's been so much change right now, especially in businesses, and this is where I'm focusing with growth leaders, entrepreneurs, and sales leaders right now so that they can make that shift. It's a big ask for leaders to strike that delicate balance between short-term needs right now and long-term priorities. But we do that and we clarify it. And there's a re-examination that goes on, and then a definition of what skills, tools, and knowledge we should be providing to the people around us so that they can continue to be successful on their voyage to get to where they and the organizations want to be.
Yeah, I love it. Well, Rick, let's just wrap up with this. What's the best way that someone could reach out, learn more about you, read your book, listen to your podcast, and maybe connect and see how you can maybe come alongside them in their voyage to breaking through ceilings?
Thank you. I'd love that. I'd love to work with people and organizations and entrepreneurs. They can reach me at www.rickdenley.com, RICKDENLEY. And on there, you'll find a lot of, as you mentioned, the podcasts that I've done. The information is there as well in regards to our programs. And they can even grab a copy of the book, Reinvent Yourself, and start their journey and voyage right there.
Yes. Awesome. Well, Rick, thank you so much for coming on. It's really fun talking with you. I love your energy, love your approach to things, and I really appreciate your time.
Great. Thank you for having me on, and your listeners as well. It's been a pleasure.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneursradio.com.